Hi y'all, it's Kathy. How you doing? I think I'm on now. Anyway, good morning. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm going to share a couple of stories. I'm coming on a little early. I'm going to do a couple of taped videos. Oh, no, this one's live. I'm sorry. I'm going to do maybe a couple of live videos because then they'll get seen and shared. And because tomorrow I have to do a painting tutorial and I need to have time to get ready for that. So I'm going to go ahead and do these live so that y'all be able to catch up with my stories. Anyway, put your glasses on so you can see, and put some lipstick on so we can be ready. See, I just look like a ghost without lipstick. And get your waters so you'll stay hydrated. Today's story is going to be about basically, these are not, I don't know, not really what you would call ghost stories. They're more like supernatural occurrences. The first one I'm going to tell, I guess, is that I call Time Stood Still. No one's with me yet, so I know that most of you are going to be watching by replay. Anyway, this one's called Time Stood Still, and it's about an experience I had when I drove to a town called Kemah, Texas. And if you've ever been to Kemah, then you know that there's a whole row of restaurants that it's really a nice place to go eat. And there's a whole row of restaurants down there, and there's places that sell seafood and stuff like that. Anyway, one of my friends had invited my family and I to go down to Kemah for the day. And we went down there. We had a great time going to the beach and everything. And I owned a little red convertible at the time. It was just a Chrysler LeBaron. And so my daughter and her girlfriend wanted to drive with the top down so they could wave at the boys and all those things. So she was a teenager, so I was kind of overseeing her as she, did these things. But we drove down there with the top down, just the girls and I had a lot of fun. And my husband and his brother were following us in another vehicle. Well, when we got down there, well, actually, I was following them. I'm sorry, because I had never been to Kemah and I didn't know the way down there. I knew it was around the Galveston area, but I didn't know how to get there. So I was following them. So we went down there and everything was fine until we got to a certain, almost there. And then my car overheated. It had never overheated before. I had never had any trouble with it, but it overheated. And thankfully, my brother-in-law at the time was a diesel mechanic. So he fixed the car and told me what to do, until we got back home to where I could get it to a mechanic and all of that. So we went on to the beach. We had a great day in the sun. And then we went to, my girlfriend and her fiance wanted to go and stop in and buy some seafood that they could cook at home. So we went into a place that sold seafood down there, and now it was dark. We bought the seafood. I was allergic to seafood, so we didn't get any. We just stopped with them. We ate at one of the nice restaurants there. And as we were leaving, it had gotten dark, and it was very crowded. If you've ever been down there, there's a road that has two lanes that, dead end into the highway, and then you have to either, if you're in the left lane, you turn left. If you're in the right lane, you turn right to get out of a very busy street and a very busy highway because everybody seems to leave at the same time. So my husband knew that I had not, this is my ex-husband, y'all. So anyway, he knew that I had not ever been down there and that I was lost. I wouldn't know the way home. So I was following him again. And he was in front of me. And when we got up to the highway to turn left, it was really difficult to find a space, a clearing where you could get out into the highway, So he found a place to go out, and I thought that there was a middle lane in the middle of that highway and that he would pull into that middle lane and wait for me, and then I would get out and then we would continue on. However, he went on. And so I thought, well, he knows that I don't know the way, so I'm sure he's going to go slow so I can catch up with him. Well, as I was pulling across the highway, thinking that there was a middle lane and it was dark. All of a sudden, I realized there was not a middle lane, and I couldn't get past the traffic coming from the other side. I had to stop in the middle of the lanes that I pulled out into, and there was 2 lanes of cars going 65 miles an hour coming over the bridge down to that area, and I was fixing to get slammed into by these cars because I couldn't pull on out into the other oncoming traffic because I would have been hit by them. So I was in a predicament, and the girls could see what was going on, and the one in the back seat started screaming, and my daughter just kind of looked around at the grim situation, and she looked at me and said, "It's okay, Mom." She was saying that it was okay, that I had made a mistake and that we were fixing to get creamed by these cars. And I said, I just started praying, and I was like, "Lord, I'm killing them. I'm going to kill these girls." And all of a sudden, a cloud came down around my vehicle, a black cloud to where we could not even see out the windows of my car. And I mean, it was right before the headlights were hitting my car. And but before that happened, I looked forward, and actually my ex-husband was just pulling out to go on across, and I saw my brother-in-law put his hand out the window and motion for me to go on, like turn and go the other way, and then maybe turn around and come back. I didn't really know why he was motioning to me like that, but his hand was motioning like turn. So I just turned my steering wheel all the way to the right, and I put my foot on the gas as hard as I could. And we had a guy that was going to hit us from the side. His lights were coming right into my car, and we thought that, we were already hit. But anyway, as I did that, a black cloud came down over the car, and we couldn't see anything out the windows. We couldn't see the traffic lights anymore or anything. And when the cloud lifted, I looked down, and my car was going 100 miles an hour. I don't think that's even possible within a block distance. My car was going 100 miles an hour. The man that was turning into me was turned completely sideways. He also was going 100 miles an hour. We were nose to nose, and we were just a car length distance from the people who had been coming over the bridge. So if we had been going any slower than that, we would have been hit. So it's almost like we got moved in our lanes, and we got put at a speed of going 100 miles an hour. And when I found a place, I calmed down, and I found a place to get over and to turn around. And I thought, well, my husband saw that we were having a problem, so he's probably going slow up there, or maybe he pulled in. I remembered seeing a convenience store before we came over the bridge earlier that day, and I thought, well, maybe he has pulled in there and is waiting for us. So I turned around, and I sat in this like Dairy Queen parking lot, thinking that he was going to come back and get us. And and my daughter said, "Mom, why haven't they come back for us?" And I said, well, they probably are having a hard time getting turned around and getting back here to us, thinking they were going to come back for us. And after a few more minutes, she said, "They're not going to come back for us." And I said, well, maybe they're waiting for us down at that convenience store. Maybe they think that, we found a way out or something. I don't know, but surely they know that what a predicament we were in. So I turned and I went down to the convenience store, and they were in the convenience store, but they were buying beer. And I was so mad because they acted like nothing had even happened to us when we just almost got killed. So I got out of the car, and my daughter was like, "No, Mom, let me go talk to him because you're too mad, And she went in there to talk to him. I heard him saying something ugly to her, and I thought, I got madder, and I got out of the car, and I was like, y'all almost got us killed pulling out that way. I didn't know there wasn't a median, and you didn't even come back for us after you saw that we had trouble and everything." And my brother-in-law said, "What do you mean? We didn't know you had any trouble." I said, "Yes, you did. You told me, you motioned for me to go to the right." And I said, "When you had your window down and you motioned for me to go to the right, I thought you knew that we were fixing to get hit, And he said, I didn't motion for you to go to the right. I didn't ever have my window down. So now we all know that an angel must have put their hand out the window to motion for me to go right, because if they didn't, I would have sat right there and we would have been creamed by those cars coming 65 miles an hour over the bridge, because I saw no way out. And again, that cloud came down over us, and both cars were going 100 miles an hour at less than a block from where we had pulled out of the intersection. So that's one of my miracle stories to tell you about. Then the other story today is about a man that I met. What happened was, I had been doing a Bible study in my home. I usually did them on Tuesday mornings at 10 o'clock, but some people had requested I do them at night because they had a hard time getting off work and everything. So I started doing them on Tuesday evenings around 6 o'clock, but it would get dark. So I was doing this Bible study, and a man called me and asked if he could come to the Bible study. It was a ladies' Bible study, so I didn't ever make a big deal about that one way or the other, but I've always only had ladies attend my Bible studies. However, this man said that he had heard about me from his church and that he would like to come to the Bible study. I said, well, I guess the ladies wouldn't mind. We've never really talked about it, so why don't you go ahead and come, and if anyone says anything about it, then we'll talk about it or whatever. So I wasn't worried because my husband was at home. He would be in bed by that time because he went to bed early because he had to leave by 5 o'clock in the morning. So he would always go to bed about 8:30. But I knew he would be there and awake most of the time while everybody was there. And so I wasn't too worried about this man coming. Well, he came over, and almost immediately he started making the ladies feel uncomfortable, but everybody was, nice Christian women, so they were trying to just make him feel like he fit in and everything. And we had our Bible study. At the end of the Bible study, he kept saying things that were a little bit inappropriate. I'm trying to think of what he did say. It was like... he finally came out with the whole story, and the story was that he had been being visited. This is kind of explicit, so if things like this bother you, just turn it off. Because this is an adult program, but this is not going to be that explicit, but I do have to explain a little bit about what he said, and that was that he had been being visited at night by a woman, and that he and this woman were having relationships, and this was a spirit woman, a ghost. I had never heard of such a thing, and I didn't really want to believe him. However, something told me that what he was saying was true, and at that time, I had not heard of these things. Of course, I've researched all of it now, and I've done a lot of study on it, so I understand that it happens, and you would be shocked at some of the things that can happen in the supernatural, in the spirit world. And anyway, he said that this had been going on for over 2 years, and he had prayed to make it leave, because at first it was, he invited it to be there. It was a comfort to him. He enjoyed it and all the things. Then as time went along, it became more aggressive and hurt him, and even changed forms and all of these things. It was horrible to hear, and the ladies got scared. All of them got scared and left. They left one at a time, excusing themselves in as nice a way as they could, and they left. And then I was left there with him alone, and my husband had gone upstairs and gone to bed and gone to sleep. And somehow I felt that if I screamed for my husband, I kept feeling like this man was going to attack me. And I'm not usually that scared of people, to tell you the truth. I'm a big woman, I'm a tough fighter, all the things. But there was a spiritual side to this, and it felt overbearing. And I'm a Christian, and I have a strong faith in God to protect me and defend me, but I'm not ignorant either. And that means that I know there are people who are more physically strong than me, and I know that there are demonic beings who can harm you. So I've had experiences enough now to know that it's also real. Anyway, I just began to pray, and I said, I want you to, he said, I'm scaring you, aren't I? It's as if he wanted to scare me. And I said, no, but hold on just a minute. And I took my cross down off the wall and I put it between he and I, because to me that was just a point of faith. That was just like the stopping point. He could not come past that cross in my mind. And he said, I don't blame you for doing that. And the man was so strange. Anyway, I said, I said, I'm praying about this because you're asking, because he was asking me for help. He was saying that he wanted to get rid of this being. And as a Christian, as a minister, I felt it was my place to pray to cause this. I believe that the Bible teaches that we have the authority to cast out unclean spirits. And I was going to stand on those scriptures and pray against this spirit. But as I prayed, I felt the Lord tell me that he had invited this spirit and that he was going to have to renounce this spirit and he was going to have to make it leave him, but that I could pray with him. And I was taken to the computer to ask the question. I had my computer right there, and the Lord told me to go to the computer, and I did. And I just typed in the information, a spirit that comes at night for, intimate relationships with someone. And it came up right away what this spirit was called. It's called an incubus spirit, and there's a succubus spirit. And these are real entities that will manifest and become physical with a person if they try to enter into your life, and then if they do and you allow them to, then they will continue to have these encounters until they have you in like a prison, a trap, and they begin to harm you. Anyway, and people have all kinds of mental illnesses and all kinds of, you can look it up. It's crazy how bad this can get. And this is where this man was. So I explained to him, and I showed him on the computer at the whole time trying to keep him at a distance from me because I could feel that he wanted to attack me. So I kept talking to him, but I was just guiding him. And I said, if you read here, and I said, the Lord has told me that you invited this. Maybe you didn't initiate it, but then when it did happen, you invited this spirit. So you have to renounce this spirit. And so he renounced the spirit, and we renounced the spirit and prayed together. And he fell into like a coma. I mean, like dead sleep. Almost immediately upon the ending of that prayer, he fell to the floor and he fell in a dead sleep where I could not, I touched him, I said, hey, and he was in a dead sleep where I could not arouse him to wake back up. So I knew the Lord was doing something to him. He was breathing. He had a pulse rate. I just left him laying there, and I didn't call my husband down because he would have probably hurt him, kicked him out of the house. I waited and I stood there and I stayed there and I prayed over him as he slept for probably 20 minutes. And then he came to, and he was like refreshed, a new person, seemed different, all of the things. And he thanked me and he left. And then I found out what church he'd gone to. I called that pastor. We had a conversation. He said they had been trying to help him for over 2 years and they had never gotten this far with him, so they were grateful for that. And then we kept up with one another, the pastor and I, not the man. I never heard from him again. I told him he could not come back. I said, I'm sorry, I have to protect the people who come here, and so I cannot allow you to come back, but I will be praying for you. And so I did keep in contact with that pastor, and he told me that the man had just completely changed and never spoke about having these issues anymore after that. So that's the end of that story. So these two stories today were more miraculous or spiritual, supernatural stories. And there are people in the world that deal with these type of spirits every day, y'all. But most of us just live a normal life and go to church and, you know, have normal lives. But there are people who deal with these types of spirits every day. So just be aware that they are around you. Anyway, oh, I was going to tell y'all, I put a link to my painting tutorial that I'm going to do tomorrow. This is not the picture I'm going to do, but this is one of the pictures I've done. This is the one I painted not too long ago. That's one version of it where it has the background colored in. And here's another version of it where it's just the, excuse my fingernails, I'm working on tile floors and everything else. I lost fingernails. Anyway, that's another version of it. But tomorrow's, trying to remember what we are doing tomorrow. I can't remember, but you can check it out. What are we doing tomorrow? It's left my mind because I've been telling these stories. Anyway, I'll put a little comment or something down below about what we're doing on tomorrow's video. On my Facebook page, I have a post with a list of all of the ones I'll be doing each week. Every Tuesday from 1 until probably 2:30 or 3, I'll be doing a painting tutorial. And it's only going to be $5 to join each week. I was going to do a membership, but because of the images I'm using, I can't do a membership program, but I will change that at some point and do a membership program. Right now, it's just going to be $5 every time you join for a painting, and you will get a download of the tracer, the instructions, and I will be doing a tutorial and showing you how to paint the whole picture. So I hope that some of you guys can join me, and I really appreciate you listening today. I'm going to do another video here in a few minutes of another couple of stories, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.